Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everything in between, welcome back to the City Boys podcast. My name is Jacob. We are joined by Ethan today and the man who makes his return from the Alaskan frontier, Grayson. How are we doing, man?
I'm still adjusting to the temperature here. I got my It's a little cold in here, man. That's all I'm saying.
Clearly has not left the frontier. It's good to have you back, though,
Uh,
Grayson.
Honestly, it's good to be back. It was an amazing time. I'll love to it, but I miss the City Boys. It was pretty nice filming out there on the water though.
Yeah, it looked like you were having a lot of fun. We did miss you. Going back and watching the episode, seeing you chime in, gave me quite a bit of laughs watching it. So I do prefer to have you back in our loving arms, though.
That was a hug. I actually need to take this off. It's so hot.
Dude, I wish we had a better match to discuss upon your return, though, Grayson. We came up against Dallas this week, FC Dallas, and they gave us some trouble. A 2-0 defeat to
hmm
FC Dallas this week. Tough to see. Very tough and dark match for St. Louis City this week.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but after that match, I was feeling just frustrated and deflated. I can understand why you could see like the feeling on the field, like everything piling on that we'll talk about here in a second. Everything piling on is just like it's all coming to a head in this match, and you just got to feel for it. Everyone in St. Louis, everyone on the team, like, what a terrible week. Like this is just brutal.
Most importantly, I think we all feel really, really terribly for Celio Pompeu. For those of you that watched the match, you saw the gruesome injury that took place really early on to him. And for those that haven't, I do not suggest going and watching the replay of it. It is quite gruesome. So we're gonna take a couple seconds for a moment of silence for Celio Pompeu's basically his career for the season. Okay, we're back. Yeah, who Grayson, are you taking us away with the lineups?
Yeah. Before we hit the lineups, just another little thing on Celio. I gotta shout out him because he really has been our best player in my opinion this season, and it's not even close. I was just sharing with the boys before the match. Um, in preparation for this match, I was looking up some stats, comparing a couple different players, and of course, one of the best players in the league, Lionel Messi. I was looking at his stats compared to our Lionel Messi, Celio Pompeu. And Messi this season has created 25 chances to score. That's pretty good. Those are good numbers for the GOAT. Our GOAT has created 35 chances single-handedly for us to score. That's on us for not putting that away. I think we've only got like 23, 25 goals on the season. But that's not at a loss of what Celio's done for the team this year. So we're losing a massive part of our squad. So yeah, prayers up to him and his family. Hopefully he recovers fast and easy.
Yeah, hoping for a really fast recovery and just that everything goes well for Celio. He has been electric this season. He's always got a smile on his face. Just his positivity that he brings to the team is amazing to see. So really, really bummed for him and for the team.
No one deserves it, but that man deserves it least of all. Uh, but moving on. We gotta start looking at this match, guys. I got the starting 11 from this week. St. Louis started with our rock in the back, Roman Berkey, who might have to move up to striker after his performance this week. In the back line, starting from right to left, Thomas Totlin and right back. Center back pairing of Tim Parker, Joachim Nilsson. Left back, huge shout out to Akil Watts. Great performance on the left. Definitely giving Marcanic a run for his money. So good for him. We'll come back to the squad. Uh, Midfield pivot, we had our defensive six, Jabula Blom, paired with Edward Leuven next to him in that roaming kind of eight position. Uh, our midfield attacking trio from right to left, Indiana Vasilev, our number 10, Kahima, left side, Celio Pompeu to start, and then João Klaus up top. We did, of course, have a couple substitutions that we had to make. Most notably, Noki Thorson comes on for Celio in that 20th minute after the injury. Josh Yarrow comes on for Joachim Nielsen after his injury, which I speculate to be a hamstring injury, but not 100% sure. And then AZ Jackson and Johnny Klein, notably in the 77th minute and the 78th minute, we had Sam Adedan making our last substitution appearance. Any notes on the starting lineup this week?
Yeah, I think it's important to note, and part of my frustrations with the way that MLS substitutions work is two of those subs had to be made in the first half of the game. Obviously, Celio for his leg, and then Joachim for the hamstring pull. I really felt that because even though your player's injured and you have to make that substitution, it's counted as a substitution window. And with five substitutions, but only three substitution windows, that makes it even harder on Carnell to make changes later in the game when like it really matters to go and do that final push for us. So I would like to see MLS switch their rules that if you have to sub due to injury, I don't think it should count towards a substitution window. But that's all I really have to say as far as the subs for now. How'd you feel about it, Ethan?
Yeah, this I like the starting 11. Obviously, Chris Durkin was out this match due to yellow card accumulation, so I was pretty excited for Angel Blom to get a start. Thorson came in for Celio, and I thought he did all right. He actually did have a decent chance or two. Kahima still looks really strong. Klaus is still doing his thing. I hear you, Jacob, and I actually have a counterpoint to that because while I do feel like that would have been really beneficial for St. Louis City last night, I do feel like teams might be able to abuse that kind of substitution rule, and that's probably why it hasn't been implemented already. Although, yeah, last night it would have been real nice to get those two extra substitutions because you could tell our boys were gassed.
I did not take into account the abusing part. I was clearly just thinking selfishly for the game last night, but that is an interesting point.
Yeah. So with that being said, we ready to kind of go through this game probably as quickly as possible. I don't want to talk too much about this.
Yeah, I'm very much a one to the head versus three to the chest guy, so let's rip it off.
Yeah, so of course, I think the first and most notable event of the match is Celio's injury. Thorson came in and did play for 70 minutes. Next up, the to begin the scoring, Jesus Ferreira off the mark in the penalty spot. Nielsen conceded this penalty after a very good ball over the top. Uh, in my view, it looked like pretty shoulder to shoulder. It could have been viewed as maybe going into the back. Grayson, what do you think of this goal?
So, all I got to say, this league is so soft compared to leagues around the world. And then here, I want to speak directly to Paul Areola. Drink some muscle milk, eat some goddamn peanut butter, get your weight up. Like, you're small. Sadly, the league rewards being small unless your name is Thorson, in which you can get thrown around all match, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's all. No further comment.
Tough scenes. Yeah. So after that, speaking of Nofke Thorson, he actually did have a very good header chance. Cross came in. He did well to head it straight at the ground. But once again, a world-class goalie performance. Martin Paez played out of his skin. He made a few great saves in the first half. He prevented Klaus from finding the back of the net. Uh, I also thought that we had a very strong start to the second half in this game. The commentator even alluded to us potentially coming out a little too strong, and you could tell at the end of the game that we were really gassed. Although I just thought that we came out really strong in the second half. I was really impressed by that. We held strong, although we did. There was a disallowed goal in the 70th minute from an almost ridiculous Peter Musa assist. That would have been my assist of the season, no doubt. Thankfully, disallowed. Moving on, though, the dagger did come in the 80th minute with a goal from the Dallas center back Tafari from a corner kick. He's there on the back post. Kind of a little miscommunication with the man marking. Looks like Josh Yarrow tried to recover for Indiana Vasilev's man, I believe. And yeah, just a header to the far post. Good finish. Uh, and to conclude the match, the final most notable event of the match to me, a Roman Berkey shot from distance. I mean, talk about Curry range in soccer. That's what we're talking about. After that, nothing too notable. The game concluded with a bad St. Louis City loss. What do you guys think?
You go ahead, Grayson, because you guys are going to hear what I think later.
Yeah, couple things I wanted to note in there. From the shot from Rowan. That's all frustration come to a head. To a guy who's played for Champions League level teams, he's used to seeing his team score goals. And this makes it 6 games in a row without a win. I don't even know how many of those are scoreless for us. Probably 4 of them at least. So yeah, it's all frustration coming to a head where he thinks he needs to take a shot on goal because obviously no one else can seem to keep it on target. And honestly, he almost hit that. He almost hit that though.
Yeah, that
It
would have
looked
been an
good. It looked
unbelievable
good.
goal.
Yeah. I first shot, I thought it hit the crossbar or something, or hit the post. That would have been awesome. Would have been cool, but yeah, I'm not exactly happy with it, but I understand it.
Just
Secondly, I also, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't think Thorson had that good of a game. Um, I almost every pass that I saw into Thorson, he could not get a hold of. Just either first touch was bad and it gets picked off, or he gets bodied from behind and he can't get to it. Um, yeah, I just something I'll talk about later is just like our passing needs to be just a tiny bit more crisper. Because yeah, there's so many times where the ball's just a foot ahead of us and we got to reach for it, and then our first touch isn't good, and we're under pressure, so we lose the ball every time. It's just
Yeah, sort of a caveat to that is like AZ's play. I watched the game with my sister last night, and while they have been a viewer of the podcast, they haven't caught nearly as many games as I have, and they were aware of how I have felt about AZ throughout the season, but they hadn't seen it. So I was like really dissecting AZ's play after he had subbed on, and literally like 99% of his touches, like that first touch after receiving a pass, he was immediately just going backwards. Even though he had space to turn and, pick his head up and play a pass, his first touch was always backwards, which was constantly putting us just, 10 yards backwards before turning around and playing a pass forwards to keep that press on them. And I think that not only did that sub up AZ's season this far, I think it is really some of how we have been lacking in the attacking portion of the final third.
yeah, Jacob, I noticed that too. And what I saw was a lack of confidence in a player, kind of the shoulders going down in the side a little bit towards in those last 15 minutes of the match. Yeah, it does make it really difficult for a team. Just to kind of point out some bright spots in this game, though, Grayson, you mentioned it earlier. Akil Watts played very well, definitely making a case for the left back position. Edu Lovin, once again, looking very good. Also had a fire lit for him in this match, getting a later yellow card due to some frustration. Kahima still, I think he deserves a start. I don't think, yeah, Izzy is not displacing him in the starting 11 whatsoever. And I thought Vasilev put out a decent 90 minutes.
uh, before we move on to our points or anything, I did want to have a little bit of a conversation about our defense. So first off, um, I want to shout out Nilsson and Parker. First off, Tim Parker, like, what a game. Like, he was working his butt off the entire match, challenging everyone. And you can tell he was frustrated. And I was just happy to see a player who has some fight to him. Like isn't gonna back down when someone's pressing on him. He's gonna shove him out of the way, shove him into the stands. Like obviously he was so close to getting a red or a second yellow in this match. Shout out to the ref for not screwing us over even more. But Tim Parker just like showed passion, and I appreciate that. Nilsson, of course. Oh, and of course, because he did pick up a yellow card, Tim Parker is suspended for his next match. Nilsson, I thought was having a good match. Of course, he did give away that penalty, which I mean, it was a little bit reckless, but it's so soft. But I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, Nelson picked up his hamstring injury. So that's our number one, both of our number one starting center backs out for the foreseeable future. Parker, I think, missing just one match. But Nelson, he could be out for a little bit longer. So what do you guys think St. Louis will do to our back line?
I think that flows into Ethan's point for the week.
It does, yeah. I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of give you an answer as well as address my first point. So, like you said, Tim Parker suspended next week for Colorado. Nilsson's injured once again. We don't know the extent of that injury, although we do know that his hamstring does have a history, so we're not sure. Yarrow is right now our only true center back on the roster, with Hebert being gone on the Canadian national team doing Copa America duty. I think that most likely we will call up Michael Wenzel. We do have Nowinski available on the bench, but he hasn't seen time at center back in some time. I believe he played center back in our first match of the season against RSL. I believe he subbed on in that match. So I think we're most likely to call Wenzel up from City 2, who has performed decently for us this season. And we can look ahead and know that Jake Girdwood Rake is coming to the team, the Australian 19, 20-year-old that Lutz signed. And I think that in moments like this, we can expect for him to pick up some of these minutes in the center back position. Although, Grayson, that's a really good question. St. Louis City does have some decisions to make. And I think that if I had to make a prediction for our center back pairing against Colorado, it would be Yarrow and Michael Wenzel.
Yeah,
Jacob?
I mean, I don't really want to see Nerwinski playing center back for us. I think we also probably call up Kinsner just as that extra depth at the center back position. I'm looking at the City 2 roster right now, and Wenzel and Kinsner are the only two that I would like to see come up. Haven't seen enough film on Reed, McGuire, or Yeager to be able to make a decision on that. But when we did have Wenzel come up and play against who did he play against? Well,
I want to
anyways,
say Houston
Yeah, I
or
was thinking it was
Austin.
Houston in that Champions Cup, possibly.
Hmm.
that sounds right. In that match, he put in a shift, and I actually think one of us called him as a potential man of the match performance for that match. He, in my opinion, plays a lot like Tim Parker does. He's got some wheels to him. Also, shout out Tim Parker for getting on the speed top five for the
Yeah, that was
game
I did see it.
dope.
That was
at
tough.
20.3 miles an hour. I saw on Facebook somebody called him concrete cleats, so he definitely just proved you wrong. Um, but he plays a lot like Tim Parker in the fact that he's fast, plays with fire, and is not afraid at all to get physical with anybody. And as seasons progress and Tim Parker eventually leaves the squad, he would be my immediate choice to replace those shoes in the back line.
I'd have to agree with that. I remember being very impressed with Wenzel in the Houston match. And honestly, after his performance, I thought we were going to see more of him in the squad right after that. So I'm glad that he is getting his shot. I'm not happy with the reasoning why.
Agreed.
Although I'm not worried about Josh Yarrow whatsoever. I have my eyes on that second center back position, although I have total and complete belief in Josh Yarrow to hold down the line against Colorado.
Agreed. He's been great this season for us. And yeah, he's not our number one choice for this the starting lineup, but he fills in fantastically. So
I think he could do a shift at least for one match till Tim Parker comes back from serving that suspension.
I've also, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've seen Akil Watts play center back before last season.
Yeah, he did. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
Yaro's
convinced.
already on the like shorter-ish side of center backs. I
Fair,
don't want to
fair,
have Yarrow and then 5'9" Akil Watts is our two like supposed to be twin towers.
fair,
A
fair.
little different look from Tim Parker and Joaquim Nelson.
A little.
All
Uh,
right. Should we go into my point?
let's hear it, Grayson.
All right, all right. So, yeah, like I was feeling, I was watching. I've been watching the past episode a couple more times, and like, sadly, I think this week is the first week that I'm not feeling optimistic. Like, we've all felt pretty good. Like at the end of the episodes, we're bringing it back to St. Louis looks good, and we have. We've looked good. Uh, Bradley Carnell's game plan has worked. Like the Goggin press works. We win the ball back. We press super high. Our midfield fluidity allows our midfield to press however they want, just run to the nearest player, and allows us to double team and win the ball back. And that shows in our numbers because we are the best team in the league in winning the ball back in the final third. We also have the third most touches in the opposition's box in the league with like 494. So like the Goggin press works. Like we have those numbers. Like obviously we're doing something right, but what are we doing wrong? Like where does St. Louis and Carnell fail? And that's technical ability. Like we sacrifice our skill for the machine that's like the Goggin press. And I'm a believer in the Goggin press. Like we've seen it work across the world, most notably. My favorite team, Chelsea, used to run Goggin press when they won the Champions League. Um, Liverpool, under Jurgen Klopp, notably, used to run a very strong gegenpress with Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. Um, but what is the main obvious difference between us and Liverpool? That's quality. Like Liverpool is so much more quality than us. Um, and yeah, it shows in the stats as well. How can we score if we can't get the ball through the goal? Because St. Louis is dead last in the league in accurate passing. That is terrifying. Like, how are we the worst team in accurate passing? Um, and there's no visible changes tactically from week to week. Like, I know, like we're running the Goggin press, obviously. So how do our practices look if we're running the same style week after week? Like I feel like our players have to get frustrated if the practices and the trainings are getting stale because the same you're running the same formation, the same like tactics every single week. And it looks like Carnell's only changes have been formation. Like it hasn't changed how we play at all. We are getting a lot more possession on the ball. That's because teams know that we can't do anything with it. We're just going to pass it straight back to them. So, yeah, there's so many times this game yesterday where we were down one or down two, and we need to possess a ball and create a real chance. And every 5 minutes, we get the ball and we just boot it down the field to a run that's not even happening. Like no one's running. So it's frustration. It's knowing that like it's a mismatch in chemistry. I know there was a play where Jack Klaus took it to the corner and then passed straight through the 6 yard box and no one made a run. The commentator called it out and said, I saw that from a mile away, and none of these pro players can see that. So yeah, it just super worrisome. And with all these injuries and suspensions, we were already in a bad spot. It looks like it's only going to get tougher. I just wanted to pose the question. I've been seeing it around social media. Do you guys think that Bradley Cornell is the man to take us out of this? It's a tricky one. It's hard to think about. He's our first ever head coach for St. Louis City SC. I admittedly have some loyalty to him.
I
I think we
agree.
all
That's
do. Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, Ethan. You go.
Um, I hear you, Grayson, and I hear the fans because it's frustrating right now. We're not getting results, and especially when we set the bar so high. Although I think that is just a little too soon for Carnell to really be on the hot seat at the moment. And I do have belief in him. When I watch the post-match press conferences, I have a belief. I will question his decision making because as a fan, we have that right to, and we think we could do that job just as well. So I'm Carnell in. I want to stay at least see out the season. I think that head coaching changes in the middle of the season usually don't go the greatest for a team, even though a team going through a head coaching change just beat us. But I would prefer to see the consistency with Carnell. What do you got, Jake?
Um, on the off chance that he sees this, I'm just gonna direct it at him. Um, Bradley, can I call you Bradley? You go by Brad, Mr. Carnell. We'll stick with Coach for this one. I have a lot of respect for you. The amount of joy that I had last season underneath your reign is only matched by a few other sport franchises, fandoms that have gone on such amazing runs as the one we had last year. Overall, I'm Carnell in, but it is a close decision for me. I think not every loss or every tie can be chalked up to Carnell's fault, but some of them are definitely his fault. I don't think this one is his fault. I at the time of recording this, I don't have the list of games in which I do think it is Bradley's fault, but we do have to see a change in the way we play the game. We have become a very predictable team in the fact that Grayson mentioned it earlier. In possession, teams know we can't score. Sporting Kansas City figured that out in the playoffs last year, and it has been the same story the entire season. We're not getting production from our men up top in the counter attack, win the ball deep. Something's got to change. If that means, benching players, moving through a new formation, completely disregarding gag and press and moving to something else. I don't really know what it is. I know Ethan said we could do that job. I'm not sure I could pull this team out of the hole that they're currently in. I think we ride it out with Carnell and give him another third of the season. And if we're not anywhere near making the playoffs or we haven't had a good run stretch of games where we look like our usual self, I would be on team find somebody else next season.
Yep. I mean, obviously, I did set it up to seem like I might be a little Carnell out, but I am Carnell in as well. I would like to see some flexibility in his tactics. Maybe
Same.
trust in the talent that we have on our squad. We have a very talented team. Edward Leuven, super talented. João Klaus, super talented. We have a bunch of super talented attackers. And I think maybe sometimes we can back off the gog press and trust the talent that we have, with some structure, obviously. Uh, so yeah, just some flexibility would be nice. But I will say the alternative to Carnell could be an exciting connection to the Bundesliga. Could be a fun, cool, like Bundesliga coach or something. Something Lutz will work his magic on, I'm sure. He would bring in someone cool, but for now, I agree that Carnell should stay.
Well, Jacob, you're the last one. I would love to hear what you have got to say today.
I feel
Uh,
like I should full screen Jacob for this part.
Probably. So We all remember when the United States men's national team did not make the World Cup. We did not beat Trinidad and Tobago in the very, very last game of the qualifying round. And Taylor Twellman went on national television and ranted about it. And I got to be honest, folks, that's about where I'm at. My point this week does not really have a title other than I'm fucking pissed off. Uh, just with this game, we'll start there. Celio breaks his leg. That's horrible. I feel so terribly about it. And also, as the flow of the game goes, that stops play where half of our tactic is to run teams ragged. Celio breaks his leg. We sub on Thorson, who it is a split decision on this podcast whether or not he did good job. I am going to break that split. I thought he did not do a good job. I thought not subbing in Sam in that position was a miss on Carnell's part. Thorson had like 3 chances at goal, and it's been the same thing the entire fucking season where he just hasn't fucking put those away. I think Big Sam at least scores one of those 3. The referee was fucking god awful. This is the second game where we have had a referee absolutely fucking do terribly at his fucking job. He had a missed handball in the box. He called a super soft fucking penalty and yellow card against Joachim Nielsen. He could not keep the players off of each other. I think Tim Parker probably deserves that second yellow. He probably maybe deserved a red card for his first yellow card where he had a foul off the play. That should have been red flag number 1 for referee not doing a good job controlling the flow of the game. Back to flow of the game. We're in Dallas, right? This is going at Carnell. We're in Dallas. It was 90 degrees all day. They're going to have hydration breaks. He said in the post-game press conference that was not discussed prior to it, but once the first one happens, you have to change your tactics because, like I said earlier, the Gegenpress relies on us wearing teams out. And if once every half, like halfway through each half, the team is going to have a couple minute break to where they're allowed to go get water and talk tactically and make those fixes, we have to be doing the same thing. We can't just rely on wearing a team out because they're not going to get as worn out as we are. Going back to the referee, he only looked at VAR once for their offsides goal. He didn't go double check his own penalty call. That is an ego move. Fuck your ego, homeboy. You got a job to do. The yellow card on Illaramendi when it should have been a red card because Thor was definitely going to be in behind. Illaramendi was the last man and he brought him down. And in addition to bringing him down, it was Nippleman who came through his side and absolutely blew him up. But only 1 yellow card goes to Illaramendi, not 2 yellow cards or what should have been a red card because he was the last offender. Yeah, fuck you, Mr. Referee. I think Zhao Klaus has been playing way too long as far as these games have gone on. I know there was some bullshit drama that happened at the beginning of the season with Big Sam, and also he is still your player. It is your job to win these matches and make the correct substitutions. Klaus played way too long in a hot ass Dallas and he wasn't producing. Get him off the field. Tafara broke Celio Pompeo's leg. Sure, Celio was the one who made the tackle, but it was Tafara's body that rolled up on top of it and snapped that thing. And then he was hand checking Kahima off of the ball, completely away from the play for a minute straight. Referee didn't do anything. Back to fuck you again, referee. I was explaining this to my sister last night, and this is the last point I will make, gentlemen. When we are struggling to score, but not struggling to create chances, you look at our lack of shots and in the positions where the shots should be coming from in a team that is scoring goals. It comes down to the mental block of we haven't been scoring. So when I am going to take a shot, I want it to be perfect so that I can score that goal and it can take a weight off of everybody's shoulders. We've all played the game. No shot opportunity is ever going to be perfect. 99% of the time, you're not going to have a clear opening. You're not going to have enough space, especially in front of the box, especially against teams who know if they sit all 10 men back and clog those channels, you're not going to have those clear-cut opportunities. So we need to be throwing everything and the kitchen sink at the goalie instead of shooting it basically directly at him and making each goalie look like a god against us, when in reality, like, to be honest, folks, this is the MLS. If these goalies were gods, except for you, Roman Berkey, If these goalies were gods, they wouldn't be in this league. There are 5 leagues across the pond where they would be going and making way more money than saving shots off of some mid-tier strikers that happen to exist in the MLS. I'm pissed. I think I speak for most all City fans that we're pissed. And the climax of all of these emotions came out when we really, really struggled to beat a team in which we were better than in this game specifically. So, yep. Let's go to Ethan because I talked enough for the rest of the podcast until I decide to chime in again.
So I'm gonna try and wrap this up with a nice bow to take for people to take away from this, because I hear Jacob and I agree, dude. I'm frustrated as hell. This is easily the most upset with this club that I have ever been in our since our conception, since we spent a little time in the MLS Next Pro. My silver lining to your rant, Jacob, is that in our tenure as a club, we have probably just seen our darkest day. A couple of pretty game-ending injuries to some of our best players on a loss, on a streak of 6 games and no wins. It's tough. This is not for the fair weather fans right now. So I've said it once and I'll say it again. Adversity is what builds great teams. And I'm putting my trust and faith in Bradley Carnell to right the ship and see us out of these dark waters.
Yeah. Yeah. Any final notes on this match before we move on? I did want to say about a little point in Jacob's rant about the penalty call, or the lack of penalty call on our end. The handball. Who was that? Do you guys remember the player that committed the
Ibiaga.
handball? Ibiaga. So he tried to clear the ball and it went up off his arm. We saw the exact same play happen earlier this season against RSL, which you guessed it was called for handball. I just want to throw these 2 clips up. You could go ahead and compare them yourself because they're identical, if you ask me. So all I'm asking for is a little bit of consistency. These refs are just abysmal. Like they went on strike this season, and we're like, hey, these new refs, they're terrible. Get these refs their money, pay the refs. And then they come back and they do this to us. Take their money away. I'm done.
The last thing I want to say about this match, because I'm tired of even talking about it, and it's not even like a real point, just a little bit of shit talking. Dallas, I, I don't know what your stadium is called, but they should rename it to Library Field. That was quite a poor atmosphere based on a City fan's perspective. I saw about halfway full stadiums. I wish I could have been at this game to see St. Louis City play, but damn.
We had Dallas's home kits, FC Dallas's home kits. Let's see here.
Actually, a very nice kit. I will give it to Dallas. I'm gonna take it up first this time because I actually like not a white kit for once. And yeah, this afterburner kit, as it's called, has a good ombre from left to right. It goes from a good navy blue into the deep red and has the white accents, which I really like. I think it's a tastefully done red, white, and blue American kit, which is not usually the case. I think a lot of times it's very brash and bold. This is good. This is good from Adidas. I like this one a lot. 8.5 for me. I like it.
Solid. Yeah, I looked up FC Dallas home kits and comparing them to their kits in the past, this one definitely looks a lot better. I do agree the ombre looks nice. Red, white, and blue is not too overpowering. It looks classic. It fits in well. I'm gonna get an 8. A solid 8.
Yeah, I like the kit. it's above mid for me. It's nothing too special in my opinion. I said it in our group chat. I hate going to Dallas, not just because their team is so good that we can't beat them. I just don't like Dallas because of what happens to our team every time we go to Dallas. So for that, I'm gonna get my lick back, and this kid gets just a 5. You guys can do better over at Adidas.
Take that lick back, Jacob. Take that, Library FC. And well, next week we got a much different matchup. We are playing a team that is actually above us in the table, which off the back of 6 winless games, that is not a great prospect. Although we are coming up against the Colorado Rapids, a few notable players on their team. First, and in my opinion, a U.S. men's national team notable. Jacob knows about him as a former Manchester City player. He did
Barely.
bounce around the Premier League just a little bit. Zach Steffen takes up the spot in between the sticks for the Colorado Rapids. Solid goalie. Solid goalie. I'm not going to say that he's anywhere near Roman Berkey's level because, in my opinion, he's not, but by all means, a solid goalkeeper. They also have Jordy Milihalovic. I think that this guy should be breaking into the U.S. men's national team very soon here. I think he's a quality player. I got 4 assists and 5 goals on the season. We might need a fact check for that, but that's
ESPN's got him at 5-5, so take your pick. He's there.
he creates the goals and finishes them off. I would say that he is our man to look out for. He's who I would stick Chris Durkin on and cancel out in this match. What are you guys looking for?
Historically, Colorado's never been not never, recent history, as this is a results driven league. Colorado hasn't necessarily been the greatest team. There were like maybe back when Tim Howard was between the sticks, they were like somewhat good, but like I've never really seen Colorado in any MLS playoffs. That could just be because back in the day I used to be a casual. Call me what you want. I don't feel great about going into this game based off of what you guys heard a couple of minutes ago. Not expecting a ton. I'm just expecting us to look better. So I'm gonna say we're not gonna lose, but we're not gonna win, and we're gonna score some goals. And the final score is gonna be 2-2 with I'm gonna keep going back to it until it happens, an Edu Leuven goal from a set piece.
I was gonna say, uh, Colorado did have one other good playoff run after the Tim Howard era, and that actually came not too long ago. I think it was like 3 seasons ago. They were pretty poor in the beginning of the season, and then they went on a unbeaten streak. They were not super good offensively. They were fantastic defensively. Um, and then yeah, they ended up getting knocked out in the playoffs late though. They made it pretty far. Pretty good squad though.
So you're saying there's a chance we turn it around?
I think there's a if Colorado can do it, we can do it.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, so since then, obviously Colorado has rebuilt. They got a lot of big names. So they're looking a little bit better, but um, St. Louis is going to have a tricky matchup, but I want to see I want to see some goals. I'm gonna go with I feel like this one's gonna be a high scoring match. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be 2-2.
Okay,
Oh,
a
and goal
high
scorer.
altitude. Oh yeah, give it to us.
Give me a goal scorer. I'm gonna say it's about damn time Edward Leuven scores a goal.
I hear you. I agree with you, but yeah, that is you can't just copy our man.
My bad. My
Copy
bad.
my homework, change the answers.
Well, uh,
Go ahead, take my take, because if I'm right, then
okay,
I
fine.
look even better.
My bad. Roman Berkey after after this last week, he's got a taste for goal, man.
What a cracking effort that was, man.
No, I'm gonna. I actually think Josh Arrow is gonna get a header. That's gonna be my call. Josh
We
Arrow is
have
gonna be back in the starting lineup. He's gonna get up there.
we have been missing a center back header off a set piece this season.
He's
We
got it in
did
the
get
bag.
that, yeah, that nasty Joakim Nielsen bicycle kick, but we need just a give me that. So Colorado is coming off of a 2-0 victory over Austin FC, which is not an ideal statistic coming into this game. Through their last five, they dropped games to Houston, Vancouver, and RSL, and they did draw Minnesota. They sit in sixth in the table right now. Going into this game, it's very easy to feel pessimistic. This could be potentially a momentum changer, or just keeps that snowball going. I don't care though. I'm saying a 2-1 victory for St. Louis City, just because something is going to be the catalyst for change in this season. We have Chris Durkin most likely returning to the starting 11. So you know what? You know what? Chris Durkin, the match that runs on Durkin this week in Colorado. Yeah, I think he's gonna lift our boys up.
Is it gonna top his last goal? Is it gonna be a worldie?
I think that he knows that he can't just be replicating that on a weekly basis. Otherwise, teams will catch on. He has to pull it out when it's special. What I'm expecting is more of a build up of maybe a vintage Arsene Wenger Arsenal kind of goal. Yeah, some quick one touch passing on the top of the box, and Chris Durkin late run through the defense just to tap it in. Nothing too fancy or too special. I'm not talking a lot of flair here. Just the fundamentals, and if St. Louis City gets the fundamentals right, we're gonna be going in a lot better in a much better trajectory, Grayson. Because damn, that accurate passes stat has got me in the mud right now.
Yeah, that was a worrying stat. Well, any final notes from this week? We do have a super jam-packed month coming up here for St. Louis City. I believe we have 4 games in the next month. So we're gonna be busy. St. Louis is gonna be busy. So just stay tuned. Uh, keep supporting the boys. It's been a rough year, but hey, they need our support more than ever. So
Yeah, in addition to the city games that we're going to be covering, be on the lookout for a separate section of the YouTube channel titled Outside the City, where we're going to do some shorter form stuff in regards to the U.S. men's national team in Copa America. So just be on the lookout for that. It's not going to be these big, long, long form stuff. Just going to be some quick check ins with the boys, talking a little shit, watching a little international soccer.
yeah, man, we might even chat about the Euros. I don't know if you guys are are being hip to that, but I love me some European soccer. So yeah.
Are we tapped in? I got to watch Wout Weghorst score today. I am in good spirits. Okay,
Did
so
you guys
hey,
see the fucking dude that came on for Hungary?
what a legend. We
Number
have got to
9.
we've got to talk about these guys,
Bro,
man.
I
So
can't believe
yeah.
you got to see me make my debut.
uh Diesel Grayson, Dad Bod Grayson went back at it, and the number 9 role too, man. I love it.
He got subbed on, and I was like, dude, I think I played him in Sunday League.
I know that guy.
Dude, outside the city on the way, man. I'm excited for that.
Yep, yep. Hey, you know what? You love it. Jacob, you want to hit us with that outro, baby?
Yeah, you guys know the routine, and if you don't, listen closely. Like, subscribe, comment, leave a review of 5 stars on Spotify, follow on Spotify, follow us on socials. You can find it in the description of the YouTube below. Yeah, tell your mom you love her. Fuck MLS referees. I'm Jacob. See you guys next week.
Peace and love.
SCL, STL.